as like a moral stand, I just personally chose not to eat seafood. One of my absolute favorite things, like seriously, coin flip as to whether it would be cochinita pibil, which is a fantastic slow roasted spicy Mexican pork taco, but it's coin flip between that or sushi as to what I would like on my like death row meal. And so I love fish. I do. I can't morally justify eating it anymore. Like I hate the practices and the way it's going, and I can't do it. You've been to Cuba on a music tour? Hell yeah. What do you music? Do you sing? Do you play an instrument? I must know. I didn't know you musicked. Jericho needed to pick me up tonight, so you're gonna make lobster and scallop Newburg served over a pastry with a wine and heavy cream sauce. Yeah. Feel bad about lobster murder. It's okay. It's okay. They don't have a nervous system that feels it, from what I understand. It's the way I've always justified it anyway. You're a bassist and a vocalist. Well, the many, many talents of my favorite Canadian. Who knew? You're trying to cut down on meat this year just because of environmental impacts. I also used to love almond milk, but after learning how much water they use to grow up in California, you don't buy it anymore. Makes sense. Genuine question, does that mean you eat farmed fish or seafood? I steer clear of all of it. Literally, just because I don't investigate enough to know at times, and especially when it comes to seafood. Like in Florida, it's easy because in Florida, you know where the fresh fish markets are, and you just go and you get your fresh fish when you want it, and you kind of know how it's sourced and you know where it came from. But whenever it comes to like landlocked stuff, there's not much you can do as far as sourcing it any more ethically. So I just kind of steer clear of it all. Although Mix was talking to me about some sort of way of like farm raised fish that works in cahoots with the environment, in coordination or whatever. And I might be down for that. I don't know. You could change my mind because I miss eating seafood. Don't get it twisted by any stretch of the imagination. I miss it. But until I can see a way to eat it that agrees with my principles, I'm just not going to do it. Unless I'm starving and, apocalypse wasteland, if I can fish, dude, I'm gonna fish. Just stab them in the head before they go in the pot so it's quick. Yeah, that's what I'd always do, is just tip of the knife down at the back of the head and then just bring it down forward. Let's see. Been mostly vegetarian for most of 14 years. See, and I've got no problem with eating critters because I know that there are ethical ways to farm critters and source critters. I have no problem with eating critters. And if they were more responsible about how they did it with fish, I would have no problem with fish. I'm not opposed to Alaskan king crab because they've got really tight controls up there as far as how it gets fished. Any of those Alaskan crab, I'm kind of down with them. I'm on board with them because it's not an overfished thing. It's super tightly regulated and controlled to maintain a healthy population of crab. Florida stone crab, that's another thing that I'll eat because the crabs still live. They just lose one claw every year. Interesting thing, if you didn't know, if you're in Florida or you get stone crab claws, if you look at the crab claws that you get, they'll all be one, either left or right. They'll all either be left or they'll all either be right. And that's just because when they harvest them that year, they cut off all lefts and then they put them back in the ocean and the claws grow back in a matter of a couple of months. The crab's none the worse for wear. And then next year they harvest the right one. And then that way it doesn't just keep on taking from the same one. And it works out great. It's super sustainable. That's another seafood I'll eat. Where am I from? Originally, about an hour south of here in northwest Arkansas. Let's see. Fish poop is good fertilizing for plant crops. Yeah, I feel okay about fish here because anywhere selling, serving has to be Has to have a paper trail for whatever you buy. No chon, that's something we do when we're laying claim to chilequiles. Raised a gecko for 19 years and a fish for 22. You're a newfie, so you live off fish and sell fish. And that makes sense. Crab's wonderful. Where am I from? Yeah, I'm pretty far. Pretty far. Sprocket only lives a ferry away from a mix. Y'all have to let me know, like, when's a dope time to be in Canada? Maybe I'll save and make a Canadian trippy. We can do like a cool little Twitch poorhouse food and drink get together. That'd be awesome. I'd have a great time with that. Lemon, how far are you from Newfoundland? I know nothing of Canadian geography. It'd be like if you guys got a map of the United States and had to label all the states. There's probably a handful that can, but most probably fight with it. I'm one of those fighters. Toronto's pretty far. Oh, Sprocket's in Ontario. Yeah, and again, I don't know how far Toronto is from Ontario. I know they're far enough apart that they have their own professional sports franchises. I'm such an idiot. Used to live in Ontario, come here. I used to live in Ontario, come here, and now find all the cool Ontario people. We like, seriously, how cool would that be though? To figure out like a cool central meetup spot. Maybe like, I don't know, do they have Airbnb? Is Airbnb in Canada? Is that a thing? I'm sure you have something like it. Anyway, like I'll go in on some little dope place that has like a nice kitchen and just feed each other all weekend and hang and shoot the shit. That'd be cool. I'd have a good time. You have a newfie neighbor. He's loud, loud as fuck. Good guy though. Gulif was too much and it was far from anything. I don't even know what is. How do? I'd ask you how you say that, but then you're just gonna type it at me again, and then I'm still not gonna be any the wiser. You have a 3-bed bungalow. Right on. 18 hours from you by car or 3 flight. Guelph. What did I say? Gulef? I got Lisdexic on the L and the E. I probably would have said Guelph if I hadn't been Lisdexic. Random Canadian, yeah, random Canadian barbecue meetup. I'm in. I'm in. I'll even go watch a dang, I don't know, who's Ontario? Ontario. Does Ontario have a hockey team? Am I brain farting Ontario, or does Ontario not have one? Well, hey, bud. What's up? Well, hey, handsome.
I can see tomatoes from here.
You can see tomatoes from here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure enough. We've got a big garden out back, and we can see tomatoes on the vine from here. So it's exciting.
Rowdy, lay down. Come
Yeah, Toronto has the Leafs for sure. And the Ottawa Senators. Yeah, no, I know who the Leafs are. Look, I'm a Bolts fan. I know who the Leafs are. We kicked your ass so many times it's ridiculous. And then you guys got like a lucky high five, good game in the playoffs this year. Toronto is in Ontario. Okay, so there you go. See? Told you. I know jack shit about Canada. And unofficially the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, Toronto. Does Toronto have hockey? I didn't say. I said, does Ontario have a hockey team? I didn't know Ontario was part of Toronto. Don't hate me because don't hate me because I'm American, please. Most people do. I could use a country not to hate Americans. I'm a nice American. I just don't know shit, except for food. I know a lot about food. You can totally trust me on food. Yeah, see, and like I ain't even gonna blame you because I'll tell you what, Canada probably had provinces before America had states. So it was us that messed it up. Like we should have just had provinces. The 50 nifty United Provinces. The United Provinces of America. Why'd we have to go states? Where do I get cheese? And I was like, I forgot which state. Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, which I was informed in your chat by one of your other people, that there literally are cheese caves in Missouri. Apparently, it's a kind of a holdover from Depression era tactics where they, the government to get dairy prices standardized, started making cheese, and they needed a place to store all that government cheese that was temperature controlled, and they found this cave system along the highway that totally stays the same temperature all year. And so we literally still have caves of government cheese here in Missouri somewhere. Somewhere up near KC. Yeah, that's what they told me. They said go to the cheese caves. I was like, oh, wouldn't it were that easy? I thought they were totally bullshitting. I had to look it up. It was awesome. It's the Detroit Red Wings, not the Michigan Red Wings. Accurate. You am doing of laughter. Yeah, like I literally thought they were totally bullshitting with like, make-believe stalactites of like blue cheese just mounded up on top of each other, stuck to the roof of the cave. Like, I thought they were full of it. You have a maple syrup reserve. Yeah, that is so authentically Canadian. Oh, that's awesome. You would totally grow cheese stalactites from my ceiling if it were possible. Me three. Me three. I always hear about beer gardens and I'm like, where do you get beer seeds? Because all I've managed to grow so far is vegetables. The funniest heist in history was a maple syrup reserve heist. How not well did it go? I know it seems like I'm spending an awful lot of time not cooking on a cooking stream, but it's doing its thing. I don't know, man. Like, I could chop a bunch of veg and it could sit here wilting and getting dry while I wait for the time to use it. Or I could just shoot the shit with you guys. Yeah, downtime. Downtime. I've got weed and cool friends to keep me company in my downtime, so I appreciate you all, if I haven't mentioned it in the last 20 minutes or so. Ooh, you know what we could do? You guys want to see the yard? It's in need of a mow. It's 3 acres. What do you want to do? You guys want to get out there and mow 3 acres? Be my guest. It's in need of a mow, so don't judge me, but we can totally take a trip and hang out outside for a bit. It's a beautiful day. The dogs would love it. 2011, 2012, 3,000 tons valued at 18.7 million from the storage in Quebec. Still the most valuable in Canadian history. Those poor saps. Bravo. Bravo. Seriously, good one. You have no idea how much mowing you need to do. All right, we are currently noon o'clock and we have 2 hours. Sweet. Pork's gonna be done in time. Now we just gotta make sure everything else is done in time, and we're on schedule. Do you guys have any idea how rare that is for me whenever I'm streaming food? Whenever I'm streaming food and drink, it typically takes me twice as long as I expect to do anything. So for me to be on schedule, I'm excited. I'm really excited. That's what I did year one. That's what I did year one, Phoenix, Mix, sorry. Mix. Why did Phoenix come out? I always call you Mix. Anyway. That's what I did year one, Mix, is all I had was a push mower. And I faithfully push mowed this son of a bitch 3 times that summer. And then I was like, you know what? I'm over that shit. I let it grow tall, and then I had a dude down the road with a tractor and a brush hog come and do it for like 50 bucks. It was a good deal. It's a good thing that I don't have to read recipe cards, or it would take 3 times as long. So here's an interesting thing, Lumen. Since you're kind of new here, you might not know how I do recipes myself. So I do know a lot about food, and this particular dish is something that I've made hundreds of times, and so I know it. Like, it is ingrained in my brain. And there are other dishes where I've either only made it a couple of times, or maybe I've never made it at all. But what I do is, before I start cooking or making anything, I find the recipe, I get a piece of notebook paper, and I write down the instructions that I need, because I know kind of what I'm capable of. Kind of like the instructions that you abbreviated up above, right? Like you notated the important parts. You didn't need this whole long novel of a recipe. You just got all the important bits. So kind of the same thing, right? So I'll just take a piece of notebook paper and I'll just note the important bits, and then I hang it right up here so that I can just read it and I have a quick set of notes to glance at. That way it flows really easy and I don't have to read too much. Let's see. You want to do a vegetarian garden, but you have no idea what to do. So, Lizzie, it's shockingly easy. At least, well, okay. I don't know where you live, so maybe it's more difficult where you live. But at least in my growing zone, it seems to be really, really simple. So, Lowen, right? Lowen, 1996. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you. Let's see. Oh, anyway, Lumen. So, literally, you get a tiller. You might have like a Home Depot or some sort of hardware store where you can rent equipment that you don't want to buy, that you're only going to need like once a year or something. Go rent a tiller and till the land that you want to plant in, and then literally just get the seeds you want, get them in the winter whenever it's not time to grow yet, and just on the package of seeds are some very basic instructions. You can follow those, or you can go on YouTube. There's tons of gardening tutorials about how to grow your particular vegetable, but for the most part, all you got to do is keep the weeds away and make sure they stay watered. The soil, as long as you've got good soil, will kind of take care of the rest. Fertilizer's kind of optional. It's, you know, you can use compost. Like, you don't have to fertilize if you plant your garden very strategically and rotate things every year, because different plants use different nutrients from the soil. And so if you kind of move the plants from spot to spot, then the soil will have a chance to regenerate those nutrients before you go back and replant them, you know, again in that same spot. But yeah, it's really simple. Like, it's mostly just till the dirt so that the top root layer of